The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm inside me. I stared out the window of my small apartment in Seattle, the Space Needle a blurry silhouette in the distance. My life, once a clear, bright picture, was now a smeared mess thanks to my wife Meredith. We'd been married for 15 years. 15 years of what I thought was unwavering love, mutual respect, and a shared dream of growing old together. I was a software developer, a steady, reliable guy. Meredith was a real estate agent, charismatic and driven. We complemented each other, or so I believed. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Meredith began working later, attending more networking events, and her phone became an extension of her hand. I chalked it up to the competitive nature of her job. Seattle's real estate market was brutal, and I trusted her implicitly. I was a fool. The first real crack appeared during our anniversary trip to Vancouver. Meredith was distant, preoccupied. She spent hours on her phone, claiming she was dealing with urgent client matters. One evening, while she was supposedly in the hotel gym, I decided to surprise her with a bottle of her favorite wine. I found her in the hotel bar, laughing intimately with a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, handsome, with the kind of easy confidence that Id always lacked. My heart hammered in my chest, a cold dread washing over me. I retreated unseen back to our room. The wine suddenly tasted like ash. That night I couldn't sleep. Meredith returned late, smelling faintly of cologne. She slipped into bed beside me, oblivious to the turmoil raging within me. I lay awake, replaying the scene in the bar, the laughter, the way she looked at him, a look she hadn't given me in years. The next morning I confronted her. "Who was that man in the bar?" I asked, my voice trembling. Meredith's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "Just a colleague, Jasper," she said, too quickly. "We were discussing a potential deal." I wanted to believe her desperately, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Back in Seattle, I became obsessed. I checked her phone records, her emails, her social media accounts. I felt like a detective in a bad movie, but I couldn't stop myself. The truth, when it finally arrived, was far worse than I imagined. One evening, Meredith left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. I opened her email. There it was, a message from a name I didn't recognize. Declan. The email was explicit, a detailed account of their passionate affair. My world tilted on its axis. Declan was the man from the bar, the colleague she'd lied about. I read further, each word a knife twisting in my gut. They had been seeing each other for months, meeting in secret, sharing intimate moments that were supposed to be mine. I felt a rage I'd never known before, a primal fury that threatened to consume me. I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking. I waited for Meredith to come home, my mind racing. I wanted to scream, to break things, to inflict the same pain she had inflicted on me. When she walked through the door, smiling, oblivious, I confronted her. "Who is Declan?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Meredith froze, her smile vanishing. She stammered, tried to deny it, but the guilt was written all over her face. I showed her the email. She broke down, sobbing, begging for forgiveness. "It was a mistake, Jasper," she cried. "I don't know what came over me. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, the woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, now a stranger." The next few weeks were a blur of anger, accusations, and tears. I moved out, found a small apartment downtown. The divorce was messy, acrimonious. Meredith tried to paint me as controlling, emotionally distant, anything to justify her betrayal. But the truth was out, and our friends and family saw her for what she was. I lost weight, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My work suffered. I was a shell of my former self. One evening, drowning in my misery, I decided to do some digging on Declan. I found his LinkedIn profile. He was a senior executive at a tech company, married with 2 children. A wave of righteous anger washed over me. He wasn't just betraying me, he was betraying his own family. I decided to take action. I gathered all the evidence I had, the emails, the phone records, everything. I sent it anonymously to Declan's wife, Elodie. A few days later, I received an email from Elodie. She thanked me for exposing Declan's affair. She was devastated, heartbroken, but determined to leave him. We started corresponding regularly, sharing our stories of betrayal, our pain, our anger. We found solace in each other's words, a shared understanding that no one else could comprehend. Over time, our emails became more personal. We talked about our hopes, our dreams, our fears. I discovered that Elodie was a talented artist, a painter with a passion for life. She had put her career on hold to raise her children, sacrificing her own ambitions for her family. I admired her strength, her resilience, her unwavering spirit. One day, Elodie suggested we meet. I hesitated. I wasn't sure I was ready to face another woman, another relationship. But I was drawn to her honesty, her vulnerability. We met at a small coffee shop in Portland, halfway between Seattle and her home in Eugene. Elodie was even more beautiful in person. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and warmth, and her smile radiated genuine kindness. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our hopes for the future. I felt a connection with her that I hadn't felt with Meredith in years. We started seeing each other regularly, driving back and forth between Seattle and Eugene. Elodie helped me heal, helped me forgive, helped me believe in love again. She showed me that betrayal doesn't define you, that you can rise from the ashes, stronger and more resilient than before. One evening, as we were walking along the beach in Oregon, Elodie turned to me and said, "Jasper, I think I'm falling in love with you." I smiled, my heart overflowing with emotion. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Elodie," I said. Our relationship wasn't without its challenges. We both carried the scars of our past betrayals, but we were committed to each other, to building a future based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. We eventually moved in together, bought a small house on the coast. I continued to work as a software developer, and Elodie pursued her passion for art. We created a life filled with love, laughter, and joy. Meredith, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Her affair with Declan had cost her everything. He had dumped her as soon as his wife found out, leaving her alone and humiliated. Her career had suffered, her reputation tarnished. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling, that she regretted her actions. I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was fleeting. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. One day I received a letter from Meredith. She was sick, seriously ill. She had been diagnosed with cancer and her prognosis was grim. She asked to see me, to apologize, to make amends. I hesitated. I wasn't sure I could face her, not after everything she had done. But Elodie encouraged me to go. "Forgiveness is a gift, Jasper," she said. "Give her the gift of forgiveness, not for her sake, but for your own." I drove to Seattle, to the hospital where Meredith was being treated. She looked frail, weak, a shadow of her former self. We talked for hours about our past, our mistakes, our regrets. She apologized for her betrayal, for the pain she had caused me. I listened and I forgave her. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Forgiving Meredith didn't erase the past, but it freed me from its grip. It allowed me to move on, to embrace the future with Elodie, without the burden of anger and resentment. Meredith passed away a few weeks later. I attended her funeral not as a grieving husband, but as a friend, a fellow human being who had shared a part of her life. I said goodbye and I wished her peace. I returned to Elodie, to our life on the coast. We held each other close, grateful for the love we had found, the second chance we had been given. Betrayal is a cruel and devastating experience. It can shatter your world, destroy your trust, and leave you feeling lost and alone. But it doesn't have to define you. You can survive betrayal, you can heal, and you can find love again. It takes time, courage, and the willingness to forgive, but it is possible. And sometimes, in the most unexpected places, you find a love that is stronger, deeper, and more resilient than anything you have ever known.